Oh, hello, and welcome to El Dente Rigamotis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East End Evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Corpse Collector. So, before we get things out of the way, so I'm back from Gen Con, and I'm going to apologize for any sniffles or stuffy voice that I have. I caught the con crud of con cruds, COVID. so I'm quarantined, but thankfully we've been recording online, so we can still do this. Yes, I'm currently a plague cultist. I'm a cultist to Nurgle.
You have like a plague doctor mask on underneath the.
Yeah. I have the plague doctor mask on right now. For anybody listening that is like, well, why does his voice sound so nasally or whatever? Why does he keep coughing? But yeah, so I'm back from Gen Con, and we are doing Corpse Collector.
Thank God you're back, so we don't have to do the hard work anymore.
Yeah, how was that, by the way? How was going solo?
Well, like I said on the recording last week, welcome to the shit show, because that's what it is when you're not here to take the reins, because we don't know how to do it.
Feel my pain.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys were able to muscle through while I was gone. So
it was fun regardless.
Excellent. But yeah, so Corpse Collector, it's by Cas Chessa on Creepypasta.wiki. So you can check it out over there. I think it's a fairly new one on Creepypasta.wiki, if I remember correctly.
I know it's something we're reviewing, so it's probably not super new.
Yeah, actually, it's a staff pick.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fairly. I think it might be a fairly new one, because I think that's how I found it. Is I picked it off the most recent Creepypasta list from the account. Mm-hmm. Also connective tissues a bit. So I was down in Kentucky as well on my Gen Con trip, and I'm just like, I just browsed down the from the writer showcase thing, and one of the ones that come out is like, I followed an abandoned path on the Appalachian Trail. I was like, huh. Yeah, anybody who knows about what goes down, and like when I hang out with my friends in Kentucky, we like to talk about the Appalachian Trail and the Appalachians. So anyway, back to the story at hand. So yeah, the Corpse Collector. I suppose we should do our initial recommendations before we get too far ahead.
I don't know. Last week I was suggesting potentially moving initial recommendations right before we actually talk about it. Mainly because I completely forgot about it early on when we were trying to do it.
I don't know. I still like it at the very beginning.
That's fine. Then let's do it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend this story.
I am also going to recommend this story.
I'm going to give it a partial for the time being. We'll see if you guys change my opinions by the time we get to the end.
Okay. Well, then without further ado, we should do the rundown featuring Nair. So Nair is cutting open a tomato-positive mouse. They have grabbed from a cage of other mice and commenting on the color inside before placing it out on their window outside. You see, back when Nair was younger, in high school in fact, they found the remains of a run-over deer in a patch of trees where they walked. As they stood there and tried to figure out exactly what it was at the time, a creepy flesh and bone coat creature swooped in and took the remains. This unnerved Nair, but they never saw the creature in that place afterward, despite always checking. They did see the creature again, though, years later as they were working at a nature reserve where they placed roadkill out in a field for vultures. The vultures were acting odd one morning, and Nair noticed a blown-over nest of dead and dying bird babies. As Nair looked on, once again, the flesh coat creature arrived and took the bird bodies with a tentacled arm woven from animal tails. The creature then proceeded to pop the heads of the baby birds and make eyes of them on its weirdly skinless, fleshy face. Like it didn't actually have anything. Like it was just its face just kind of at the before it started using the bird heads as eyes. Its face was kind of just expressionless, or didn't have any actual details. It was just kind of looked like, as Nair described it, chewed up gum of flesh and muscle. So, and it seemed to show all this to Nair before venturing back into the tree line. Nair then went home that day to rethink their life, eventually deciding to take dead and dying animals and leaving them on their porch for the creature, which eventually came by and began taking the gifts. It would even then leave its own gifts, like little coins and buttons and such, for Nair. Back to the tomato mice situation from the beginning of the story. The creature does arrive on the porch and takes these rat or these little mice corpses appreciatively. As for Nair, these are treats for the creature. He's giving them before smattering the organs all over its face. Nair notices that the creature is smiling back at them. This time with a mouth full of human molars, as it has added new additions to its body. Finn. So that was Corpse Collector. And I suppose we'll move on to Everyone Tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I've got two bits here. 2 points of contention for grammar. I'm going to start with this one here. Bedding scrapes and scatters nearby as the remaining borrowed mice scamper and fight. So is it supposed to be borrowed or burrowed? As the remaining burrowed mice scamper and fight.
I think he stole the mice. They're borrowed, quote unquote.
Okay, that maybe, yeah.
Also, the problem I had with that is in regards to the bedding scrapes and scatters.
Yeah, bedding is like sawdust.
So, bedding is that referred to as bedding scrapes?
No. Bedding scrapes and scatters. So the bedding is what's scraping and scattering nearby as the remaining borrowed mice scamper and fight. Like basically the mice are pushing around the bedding and it scrapes and scatters about.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Scraping is a verb, I think, in this point, not a
sound.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I didn't catch that. I thought it was meaning like bedding scraps and random debris is what it's referring to as, not official mice bedding stuff.
Yeah, you could probably get rid of scrapes to help clear that up, because bedding scatters nearby as the remaining borrowed mice scamper and fight. Like that makes that clears that up basically. Yeah. Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then my other grammar inquisition that I have is when that failed to attract the creature, I went out to collect recently dead or dying animals to little along my porch. So this is a case where I think little is supposed to be litter, to litter along my porch.
Mm.
Because he's basically littering or smattering or placing the animals along his porch for the creature to pick up and such. So
scraping and scattering across the porch.
Yeah, scraping and scattering. But yeah, so that's what I've got for grammar inquisition. So Mikey, these stands for evil.
I have I believe it's story. Yes, it's an it story.
All right. And now an it story with Mikey. The E stands for evil. Take it away.
It was humid, but the air was cooling, so I took my time on my walk. It didn't stink the way old chicken and crab traps did, slimy and green and so foul you'd vomit in your nose before you could fully describe the rotting chicken scent. It was like a trance. It wore no skins. It never came back. It just made them easier to handle. It was only a fawn, and I could heave it out of the truck bed on my own. Its head hung at an odd angle, and a tear in its gut was one layer away from spilling out all the organs. It was the time of day where nocturnal wildlife had gone to bed, and the diurnal had yet to rise. True peace and quiet. It was the only thing that ever really bothered me when I put out the roadkill. It bothered me a little. It opened its frowning beak only for no sound to come out. It slinked out of the trees, wearing its grand, mottled coat of muscle and bone. It reached a long arm of weaved tails, all sorts of tails, some of hair, some of skin and muscle and bone, some of shells and scales of sea life. It didn't end in a hand. It was such a small, quiet motion, but it felt like the biggest mistake I had ever made in that moment. It peered at me from behind the coat. Its face was lumpy and pink, like a ball of chewed gum. It held out and opened its arms to show me the little birds, so small and pink. It began to pop the heads off the bodies. It lifted its head back up to me as it grabbed a head from its hand. It jammed the bird into its face. It took the tail to add to its arm. It took several dead flies to add somewhere else. It was hesitant at first, wouldn't get close to me. It brings me knickknacks like a crow, coins, shiny buttons, jewelry, sometimes even pelts. It doesn't seem interested in the skins. It reached out, peeling the organs from the mice. It pastes them along its head in a carefully crafted spiraling pattern. It has added to itself since it's last been here. Finn.
Wow.
Kind of went word for word at one point when it was doing it. It looked like this, and then it did this and that. I think that's like word for word for what actually happened in the story.
Yeah, like this basically was like a more like basically just taking quotes from the story to paraphrase the story. Yeah,
pretty much.
Also, this something that you brought up during your It story reminded me. I finally found out what apparently day walking animals sound. What the term is now, diurnal. I didn't realize that's what the opposite of nocturnal animals was. Was diurnal.
Sounds weird.
Right? But yeah.
For those unaware, Mikey grabs all the sentences throughout the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, puts them together into a story to sometimes hilarious results. To basically highlight that, there's always better words to use.
Yeah.
And if there's enough to actually tell an entire other story, that says something.
Yeah.
That being said, dialogue is one thing, and sometimes when it comes to a creature, referring to it as it repeatedly is kind of passable.
Yeah,
'Cause
I'm
what else
willing
do
to
you
do
refer to it as?
exactly. Like, especially with this creature itself, like it is, as I keep using the term, it like it's not a he or she. It is an amalgam of flesh. So like it doesn't have a gender.
No, but like you could find you would run out of
How?
words real quick. Like
Exactly.
you'd say the creature, the corpse collector. Like there's only
Yeah.
so many things you can call it, without
Yeah,
knowing what it is.
Yeah, like it is a usable word in this instance,
Hmm.
but then we wouldn't have its stories and these silly little um, uh, bits to our show.
Indeed. Gotta commit to the bit.
Yes. Wow, that rhymed.
Wow. I'm a poet and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah. God damn it. I knew that was coming too. It was just like, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, gamer.
Yeah.
What do we got for grammar in yellow?
Let's see. Scroll up. So my first note is just kind of a little overarching in regards to the intro because like me starting to read this story, I was really struggling to figure out what the hell was going on. So I don't know if it's truly a grammar thing, like, but it's like there's a lot said in the first few paragraphs, but not a lot's being said in the first few paragraphs, if you know what I mean. Because it brings up a lot of stuff that I didn't understand. Like even like Googling, I'm like, I don't get it still. Like tomato positive mice is a great example.
What is tomato positive mice?
I think like tomato mice are like it's like a term for a type of mouse or something. But I don't know. The wording of it was basically the first three words right off the bat were tomato positive mice. So the second I started reading this, I'm like, I have no idea what this is.
Well, the best visual that I got was mice that are called pinkies that are
Right.
used to feed like lizards and stuff.
The only
So-
pinkies I know are the demons in Doom.
I typed in what is a tomato mouse, and I did find an image of what I assumed like basically it's like not a white mouse like a lab mouse, but it's a gray, like a dark gray mouse, and it's from a laboratory like website. But I don't know if that's I don't know. Yeah, like if anybody out there can like explain this to us, like leave something in the comments, like if we're completely missing something about like what tomato mice are. Like, is it the pinkies, like the hairless mice, like the fetal mice? Well, because like that's the other thing. Like, would it be those ones because like they were active and like moving around, and like when he was grabbing them, so they aren't like because usually like the pinky ones that you get from like the pet store and stuff for snakes and stuff, they're dead. Like they're already like they're frozen and they're dead like fetal mice.
You can get live ones.
But are they still like fetal like that in that condition or like they growing hair at that point? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm not 100% convinced that it is that or if it's some kind of like other term for like lab
What's
mice or
weird?
something. Yeah.
What's weird is the wording of it. It's if it said tomato mice look like bubblegum and licorice inside, I would just like I'd buy that and move on. But it's tomato positive mice, which almost sounds like they're mice that have positively contracted tomatoism.
Yeah, or and
Like,
like the fact that it uses tomato mice like 3 times.
yeah, later on it says tomato mice as well, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's the positive is what
Yeah.
I'm so unpositive about.
Yeah,
You know?
I gotta see a positive tomato positive mice. Yeah, I'm not getting anything for it.
Hang on. If you do a search in quotations, it'll only bring up stuff that has that.
I get a bunch of like
science for studying.
Strangely enough, I get a bunch of NIM websites, like the National Institute of Health, or I guess that's of I get a lot of NI, the National Institute of Health,
Are there knights there who say it?
Yeah. Well, I was referencing like the Rats of Nim, which is
Yes.
because Nim, spoilers for that book and that awesome animated series, animated movie. NIM, NIMH, is actually represented the National Institute of Mental Health.
Oh, that's very different.
Yeah. But yeah, the National Institute of Health website keeps popping up with like mosaic mutant analysis identifies blah 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 blah. Whenever I have in quotes tomato positive mice.
Yeah. So either way, I don't know. That stuff confused me right off the bat, and it basically, because of that, I started reading this story in a negative light just because of the amount of confusion that I was having to deal with.
It doesn't help that it's in a format that you don't like at the start, which is media res.
I mean, I've started to like accept it because it's going to happen. Yeah, sometimes it's okay. So I'm like, I get it. You know, I totally get it.
It's a type of storytelling. It tries to freshen up like the regular type of storytelling, which is like a straightforward thing where it like starts halfway through the story and then goes back to explain things.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as it actually goes back and explains things properly, because sometimes they don't.
This one did.
Mostly, yes.
Mostly, yes.
But I'll move on from there.
Okay.
And another part about the whole intro, moving on, although I'm still talking about the same area. Never mind. Like the visual, like I was trying to build in my head of the start of the story. There wasn't enough being said in my opinion. So like I didn't even know if like Nair was in a house with all these mice like in a cage or something, or if Nair was outside in an alleyway, like grabbing like random like mice that are just in the alley. Because it like later on by paragraph like 2 or something, Nair like specifically says like he's in a house and stuff, but he doesn't mention the mice specifically, so they could just be mice he's keeping outside because he doesn't want mice in his house. There's a lot of questions in regards to me building the visual of this intro in my head. So I basically, in my head, by the end of the second paragraph, I had Nair inside a house doing shit, and there's a thought bubble of his head above his head of mice playing in bedding. That's all I got because I didn't know where they were.
I think this is like a personal like thing because like
oh, it's definitely a me problem for sure.
No, I think this is a subjective thing because like I immediately like theater of the mind. Like as I was by the second paragraph, I knew like he was in a house and he was pulling them from like a cage or something.
Yeah, but without that being said, if I'm taking the story at face value for what it says, it doesn't say any of that.
Yeah.
So it leads to a lot of assumptions, which are fine sometimes, but yeah.
Fair.
Long story short, the start of it was a bit of a struggle for me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from the intro now for realsies and serious.
So sentence 3. No.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be one of those.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
This is in regards to the mice and them like moving around. They dive into the cardboard tubes and cloth hides I've set up for them. Would cloth
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but like that is at the beginning again, isn't it?
I mean, probably, but it's not the next line.
Proceed.
Let me find it because you're giving me a hard time.
I'm not. I don't mean to be an asshole right here, but just like
cardboard. This is in the second paragraph.
Oh yeah, so far away. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Continue, please. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, it says they dive into the cardboard tubes and cloth hides I've set up for them. Would cloth scraps be better? Like when I imagine cloth hides, like hide is like leather off of an animal, you know? A cloth hide seems strange to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like it could have been like cloth scraps.
Yeah, just like crappy clothes and stuff, you know?
Unless it's meaning like cloth hide as in like a like a deer hide. Oh no, that's like a hunting hide, you know, like the little like shelter you make to hide from like the hide and like shelter into. Like, because I think that
That's
is
a
a term.
blind.
Oh, that's okay. That's what it is. Yeah, you're right. So, yeah, no. Honestly, yeah, I feel like cloth scrap would be better than cloth
Yeah.
hide. Yeah.
It's very strange.
Hang on. I'm just. Am I like? Sorry, I don't mean to like be
go
this
ahead.
asshole.
This is a
Hide.
discussion podcast, so we are discussing.
I'm just gonna like look up the word definitions and meanings for hides.
I'm gonna try to specifically look up cloth hide.
Yeah.
It just seems weird to me.
Maybe he has a bunch of dead sack boys.
God damn it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Apparently, cloth and hide is a brand. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like hide. Yeah, like the closest I'm seeing right now is like a hidey hole, a hideout. Oh, hang on. No, a place to where. Yeah, no hideout kind of thing. Yeah, they're not seeing anything for like specifically for like they call it a hide for like a shelter or something like that.
So maybe in regards to cloth hides, it just means he's made like little tents and stuff out of like t-shirts and shit for them to like go in and play in.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking t-shirt. I'm like, but yeah, like basically a piece of fabric to or like cloth to like basically just create like a, like you said, a tent or something, or like almost like a tent like thing for them.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's probably more or less means like a scrap of cloth, not a hide of cloth.
Yeah.
So. Audience, are you liking this this really in-depth like searching for the meaning of words grammar inquisition?
Yeah, it's so great. It takes
real,
forever.
yeah.
But it's fine. We'll move on from there.
Okay.
My next one is just in regards to the location of a paragraph break. I feel like it'd be better otherwise, so I'll read it as it is. I may have. This is in regards to him seeing the creature for the first time in the tree.
Yeah.
I may have stood there for hours, at least long enough for the light to change. Then it goes to a new paragraph. Eventually, it clicked that it was part of a dead animal. I wouldn't know exactly what until years later when I worked at a nature reserve, put roadkill out for vultures. I stood there a little longer before blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the paragraph break should be after mentioning that Nair worked at the nature reserve. I kind of feel it flows better since it's switching to a new scene there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be, I may have stood there for hours, at least long enough for the light to change. Eventually, it clicked that it was part of a dead animal. I wouldn't know exactly until years later when I worked at a nature reserve and put out roadkill for the vultures. Period. New line. I stood there for a little longer before blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah. That works. That works a little bit more coherently.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always have a problem with like paragraph breaks when it switches before the scene switches, you know?
Yeah. Also, I just have to bring this up. So, like, when you're talking about like he stood there for like hours, at least until the light changed.
Oh, I got a note on it.
Well, so when I read that, I initially thought like the light of day, but then I kind of thought. Then I reread the story last night in preparation for this, and I was like, or is that like until the light of like the street light changed? Because like he's like this is like on his walk to school, so like he was there for like for what seemed like hours to him, but like that's just an exaggeration in the writing. But is it actually like, or until like the light changed from like the traffic light nearby? I don't know.
In
Like
a car though. If he was in a
no,
car,
like walking like light change for like the cross the road kind of thing. I might be just overthinking it, or like maybe like I'm just like, yeah, I might just be overthinking it. But
I don't think he would have been noticing that. Meanwhile, while he's transfixed on staring at this.
Maybe you're right.
I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this is more when you're a kid.
Yeah.
So when you're out playing in the sun, and then all of a sudden it's dark.
Yeah, because you don't realize how much fun you're having, and like the time goes by much faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like this is obviously like it could also the way the story like says it, it's also like kind of like flowery or like exaggerated. But yeah,
Who's to say? I guess the writer would say they would know better, but
yeah.
Regardless, I'll move on from here. This is describing the creature. I think the second time. No, this is the first time. Yeah, because of deer ribs. Okay, first time. The same curiosity that got me to stare at the deer ribs urged me to turn back around in the direction of the smell. It wore no skins. I kind of feel like it's saying it wore no skin would sound better, because saying the plural of skins sounds like you're saying that this creature is just nude and not wearing clothes.
I guess, but then it does kind of explain what it means by that.
Here's the thing, though. Later on, this thing actually is wearing skins. It's literally wearing a coat made of skins.
No, that's specifically though. It doesn't wear skins. Like it doesn't.
But it does.
It doesn't use the pelts of the animals or the skins of it. It uses the muscle and sinew and bone. It doesn't use the skin at all. It specifically says that.
Oh right, fuck.
Like the coat, the flesh coat is not made of skin of the skin of the animals. It's made of the flesh and muscle and sinew and bone. It's not made from the skin of the animals. And it's
right.
Yeah.
However, that's only described later.
Yeah, I could see like it's like it wore no skin. I think also like I think you could use it. Honestly, for me, I could take it or leave it. Like it wore no skins or it wore no skin.
Actually, no, I'm wrong.
Okay,
because it says it wore no skins, then immediately it says it had instead it had a model coat of pink, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Coat hang like tassels, blah 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 blah.
Shredded muscle in varying stages of. I actually have this like I'm gonna be quoting this in a second in my actual thoughts. So
okay.
Again, like you're not like 100% wrong. Like again, it could be either or. Honestly.
So
I'm
maybe if it said like,
yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't have been so strange if it said like, it wore, it wore a coat, but not of skins. Instead, it was made of blah 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 blah. It's saying it wore no skins is what really confused me.
It had no skin.
Yeah, but we don't know if it had no skin or not.
True, yeah.
No, actually, it's just bones and shit. It doesn't have skin.
It's just it's like it is the everything underneath the skin is what was exposed.
Underneath the coat?
No, even the coat. The coat itself is like made from like shredded muscle and sinew and stuff like that. So yeah.
But the creature wearing the coat is just made of flesh and bone, no skin.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it said it wore no skin, period.
Yeah.
Then that would make a little bit more sense in my opinion.
Also, this thing like who's to say? Well, what is this thing? Like this thing on the inside? Like its arms are made from are woven from like tails from animal tails. So like,
well, that's part of the coat. He's like puppeting that from inside.
Oh, maybe. See, I just assumed this whole creature is just the coat, the flesh coat.
I imagined it's basically a skeleton with like haphazardly pieces of meat on it, and its face is just mushed up rotten meat, and it's wearing a coat made of all this other shit.
You know what I was thinking actually of this? And this is gonna piss off one of our listeners. Sorry, Brownie.
Do it.
This reminded me of a Warframe thing.
Hell yeah.
Literally. Hang on.
The thing I showed you the other day?
No. I envisioned a roadkill, like a fleshless, a skinless roadkill version of Sevagoth's shadow.
Oh yeah, because he has like a coat.
It's just the shadow, like the and for anybody, the war in the Sevagoth in Warframe is this character that has basically like a JoJo-esque like coat monster on top of him. So I just kind of envisioned the coat monster
from him.
Yeah, and it can separate and like act on its own. So I was just envisioning the coat as this monster, but like made from like woven like animal tails and like just shredded animal muscle and sinew and bone. Which honestly, I want to draw this creature so bad the way I'm seeing it, but like it's gonna be so much detail.
Yeah, it'll be a task for sure to do.
Yeah, because like it's like because there's so much like detail involved for like the shrimp and crustacean like tails for like that almost look like armor on the one side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and all of it is described in like glorious detail. So
Yeah.
like, there's not much room for just like artist interpretation of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
like there's detail, but there's also some interpretation because you can like play around with like what kind of animals it's using. But,
Yeah.
this is we're not even in the actual thoughts, by the way, guys. Like,
No, I mean that happens sometimes when we bring up stuff that we have direct actual thoughts on. It's like we
yeah,
just dip our toes into that a little bit.
yeah. I guess this is all to say that like I really like dug this. Like, whereas you were having a problem with like it wore no skins and so like that's where you kind of like for this part. But like honestly, this whole description that we get after that, like I really enjoyed.
Oh yeah, the description is great. It's just
Yeah.
the very start of it. I wasn't sure because I didn't know if it was skinless until much later on.
Yeah.
When we should have gotten the visual immediately, in my opinion. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Can I move on?
You may, yes.
We good? We good? Okay. This next one is when he's talking about his nature job. His nature job. It's pretty
Yes.
neat. Eventually it clicked that it was part of a dead animal. I wouldn't know exactly until years later when I worked at a nature reserve, put roadkill for vulture, blah, 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 blah. Then like a few lines later, it says, maybe a few paragraphs. Either way, later on in the story, it says, the second time I saw it, the second time I saw it was working at the nature reserve. I spent a few years hauling roadkill to the vulture fields to make sure they didn't get blah, 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 blah. So like it says the exact same thing, just slightly worded differently. Again. Yeah. Like even going into detail saying that he's putting out roadkill for vultures. Like we already know that the first time.
We know that but we didn't. I guess like it's sort of like he's bringing it up that like I wouldn't know what this was until like later on in my life, and then like here's when this thing happened again during that time in my life I mentioned earlier.
Yes, but he goes into detail saying exactly what he does both times. Meanwhile, he doesn't have to.
I guess, yeah.
Because it's just sort of repeating it. So like the way that I would do it is the first time you mention it, say, I wouldn't know exactly what until years later when I was working at a nature reserve. Period. You don't need to say what you're doing at the nature reserve. Just saying years later, that's what I was doing. And then when you bring it up later, then you go in saying, the second time I saw it, I was working at a nature reserve that was hauling roadkill to the vulture fields to make sure they didn't eat stuff on the roadside. You're giving us more information, but you're not having to repeat the same information because you just told us a little bit at the start. So we don't need a full description both times.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. And then we get into the baby bird eyes on the face situation, and it says 5 baby birds, now 5 pink and blue swollen eyes. Shouldn't it be 10 eyes? Because birds have 2 eyes each. Or is he like sideways mashing them in?
Yeah, I think he's just using the heads directly as eyes. Like each one is
Yes, but if he's putting the heads in sideways, then yes, only one eye is showing. But if like the beaks are out, then each head has 2 eyes.
I mean, who knows how this creature works? Like,
yeah. I just thought about the orientation sideways possibility now, so maybe he is jamming the one eye against his face and using the other one to actually look out. So they are 5 and just all the beaks are facing inwards or outwards, but not directly in the direction he's looking.
Or even more fucked up, he's actually not even using the eyes of the birds, he's using the open beaks. Like, and every time the beaks open up, that's how he's seeing is through the mouth. Like it's some weird, like it's some weird like supernatural like vision that he uses, like, but he uses the beaks as like eyelids.
No, I think he is physically using
the organs, like the eye, the ocular organ of the bird. Okay.
Yeah, and like because it seems like he has to replace them when they go bad or something like that, because like shit rots, you know.
Yeah, he's a carry-on. He's the carry-on coat.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, maybe he just slams them in sideways. So that's fine.
Okay.
Also, I do have a bit of a note on this whole thing. Like, Did the creature not think to give itself eyes this entire time? Like, it's made this fancy coat of like skins and both arms, like seemingly like hundreds of dead animals. And like it did all of that while blind.
You're you're assuming that it works like us. Like it might have other like it could be like Shogothian where it has like other senses that it can rely on when other senses fail. So
I guess maybe it
like, it
doesn't
might,
need the eyes, but
yeah.
it built a face just because it kept contacting with Nair, who has eyes and a mouth.
Honestly,
So
that's what I
that's
think it
why,
is. Yeah,
yeah, he's
because
basically just putting on a disguise to make him be able to connect more with Nair.
yeah. Hence why at the end, it's able to smile at Nair to show its appreciation with human molars.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's a buddy horror, dude. This is 100% a buddy horror.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Unless he dies at the end, but who knows?
Yeah. Hey, it didn't happen at the end of the it left it ambiguous. So like I'm going on the assumption that Nair has gone insane and is now buddies with this horrible monster creature.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Got another one. Another paragraph break that I didn't like.
God.
I don't explain anything, or sorry, I don't expect anything from it. I started setting out animal corpses out of curiosity. Now I feel like I'm just helping it clean up what vultures and other scavengers miss. Period. New paragraph. Tomato mice are a treat. They are beautiful inside. Period. Outside the wooden steps creak. Blah 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 blah. So personally, I feel like a better paragraph break would be when it says outside, because it's switching to outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like it's directly talking about he's putting out corpses and saying like tomato mice are a treat. So like that's a complete thing that you're talking about. Then you switch to outside. There's something happening.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think outside would have been a better choice for the start of that paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then my last one is just I personally would prefer ellipses here over a period, just for emphasis. Tell me if I'm right or not.
Sure.
I wave when it lifts its face to look at me with its baby bird head eyes. It has added to itself. Wait, that should be commaed actually as well. Okay, I got another one here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I wave when it lifts its face to look at me with its baby bird eyes. Period, and then starts off again saying it added to itself.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but it does say you did leave out a word.
Where?
It's baby bird head eyes.
Oh, whatever.
Okay, so, sorry,
I'm trying to get through this.
I know. I'm sorry.
Either way, it adds to itself since it's last been here. Period. An open smile of human molars. Period. So like, there are three really short sentences that I feel like should be connected better.
Okay.
So personally, the way I would do it is the first period should be a comma, and then the second period should be an ellipses for emphasis.
Okay.
So it would be, I wave when it lifts its face to me to look at me with its baby bird head eyes, that it had added to itself since it's last been here. An open... Oh, wait, no. No, hang on. I wave when it lifts its baby...
No, because that actually wasn't like the baby... Like
yes, it's not connected. Yeah, because it talks about the baby bird eyes and then it stops, and then the rest of it is talking about the molars.
Yes.
It has added something new to itself since it's last been here, an open smile of human molars. But either way, I feel like an ellipses there for emphasis would be nice.
I would, you know what, honestly, not ellipses. I would even go to say that period could, at the end there, like right before we get an open smile of human molars, could be a semicolon.
Yeah.
Or is it colon? Is colon or semicolon the two dots? Which one's that?
That's colon?
Okay, yeah, sorry. I think it maybe a colon at the end of that last sentence there, right before open smile of human molars, just to
that normally for like a list,
or to like present something, like
perhaps, yeah.
I guess ellipses would also, I think, could also work, but like I don't know, like I think also when you do, it's like when you're about to like name off something or like say something like that, I would put a colon rather than like a period. So yeah, the period definitely is not. I would definitely maybe change the period there. I'm just not sure exactly what I would use. Like I'd have to maybe I'd have some choices, I guess, if I was writing this.
Yeah, the whole mention of like the baby bird head eyes period, and then it starts with it had added to itself since kind of sounds like it's still talking about the baby bird head eyes, but it's not.
Maybe it has also added, or it is also
Yeah.
it is also
Something
added.
new it has added to
Yeah.
itself
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
or also something new that has added to itself to like differentiate that we're talking about something new here.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I am done talking about my questionable choices in the grammar in yellow.
That's fine. We also, to be fair, this was also a bit of actual thoughts too. So like, as we couldn't help ourselves, I
Yes.
couldn't help myself.
I mean, that's fine. That's what we do.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna so we move on to the actual thoughts, and I'm actually not gonna bring up what I had originally, which was like that whole quote of like it wore no skins, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Just basically what rephrasing what I said earlier. I really like the description of that. Like it's just such a cool flesh coat description.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
Yeah. However, I will be referencing other quotes that of just continuing my like I love this description and stuff like that. So, starting with this one here.
I'll say this before you continue. I'm surprised that like because the description is done so well, I didn't at all like take it in a silly manner, even though you could so easily do that with the subject material, but like it's done so well and like the visual is hammered down that no, this is fucked up and weird that you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like even me reading this specifically to do a show on, I'm like, no, this is fucked up. I'm not even going there.
Also, I feel like Nair's response is pretty accurate. Like he went into a fugue state initially, and then at the sudden sound of like the branch snapping, he ran. And then second time he encountered the creature and it wasn't threatening to him, so he stayed out of like horrified curiosity until like the creature left, and then he just like went home, didn't go back to work, just went home to rethink his life. Like he had rolled a couple of sand checks at that. And I think at that point he had failed a bunch of sand checks and basically kind of snapped. And it decided to like kind of be the Elliot to this creature's E.T. the extraterrestrial. Because that's kind of what I got from the creature, like from what him giving like putting the meat, like the flesh out on his porch. It's I was sort of reminded of like a more morbid version of like in E.T. the extraterrestrial, Elliot puts down like candies to bring E.T. closer to into the house and stuff like that, to like be friends with it, and like it's kind of like that except way more creepy and morbid.
It's flayed mice.
Yeah, exactly. And I also love the description of like he's even created like little like spike things to put them on, like a shrike, which is a type of bird I think from Australia or like somewhere that actually does impale its prey on thorns. Before it'll go and get them again to eat them. Yeah.
Some animals are fucked up.
Indeed. But yeah, so going to the going to my next quote here. It reached a long arm of weaved tails, all sorts of tails. Some of hair, some of skin and muscle and bone, some of the shells and scales of sea life. I could make out the hair of a horse, silvery fish fins, and an entire gray and red line of shrimp and lobster tails along one side like armor. There were other tails I couldn't identify that were longer, easier to weave. It didn't end in a hand. Maybe it was more like a tentacle or club. Once again, I really like the description in the story, especially of this woven tail, these woven tails to form like a tentacular arm appendage.
Something cool.
It's just so like with a creature that's like kind of made up of an amalgam of like corpses and stuff like that. This is such a cool way to describe that. And like also the whole creature.
Unrelated, love the word tentacular. It sounds like something that the Ninja Turtles would say.
Tentacular, yeah. It's because it's it rhymes with tubular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, but yeah.
I mean, tentacular, tubular. It has like the same kind of like it has the same kind of
Yeah.
like thing to it.
It's got that kind of vibe, yeah.
But yeah, like honestly, like we were saying earlier, like the whole creature design is actually like really fun. Just the way the amalgam of animal flesh and bone is described feels rather unique as far as this kind of flesh golem kind of thing is concerned. Like, which is kind of how I'm taking it. Is like this is some kind of like carry-on, like cadaverous or like flesh golem. Like it's just constantly replacing itself. Like there's some kind of like core to it that's like building this shell of like corpse of like shredded like muscle and tissue.
Not to bring up Warframe again, but it's kind of like Zaku, how it's just like some weird like skeletal thing that takes the dead like versions of itself around to like put armor on himself.
No, that 100%. Like
It's sort of like that as well.
yeah. But yeah, it's just such a cool like design. And the next thing I have here, this is just gonna go into like my whole idea of like the buddy horror aspect of it. The creature climbs up on my porch in an awkward shuffle. It reaches out, peeling the organs from the mice. It pastes them along its head in a carefully crafted spiraling pattern. I wave when it lifts its face to look at me with its baby bird head eyes. It has added to itself since it's last been here. An open smile of human molars. Yeah, no, this is the coolest visceral buddy horror I've ever heard. I've ever read. Like, you take I guess not quite the thing. You take E.T. the Extraterrestrial, a smattering of Jeepers Creepers, and Pet Cemetery. And it's just this horrible,
Put it
like,
all in a pot, mix it up, and here you go.
yeah, this horribly wholesome, visceral buddy horror. Like, boy meets monster. Honestly, legitimately, I could 100% see this being a monster friend in Monster and Other Childish Things.
Oh yeah,
the RPG. Like, I would love to. I would like stat this out in a heartbeat. Like, basically, be like a flesh coat. And the character, the creature, like either hides by like slinking away into the nearest trees, or literally like turning into just a regular coat.
Yeah.
That the character wears, and then when it doesn't, he like throws the coat off, and it becomes this suddenly it becomes this giant flesh coat underneath it.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, like this feels like, especially since the character encounters it when he was a kid too, so like there's a precedent there. But yeah, this character like clearly like got traumatized from the first encounter, got infatuated with it, became there's definitely some kind of like subtle like influence it had on this kid's life later, because he became a nature reservist for like bringing like roadkill out to a vulture field. So like
Sure.
There's definitely some kind of like influence this had on that trauma, probably had some influence on him growing up. And then he encountered it again, rolled more sand checks, failed. At this point he has lost a lot, like enough sand checks that he's just like he's just become more infatuated with this creature to that he wants to become its friend. And again, like, maybe it's not bad, maybe it isn't like anything malignant. Like, it doesn't really seem to be like hostile in any way. Like, it seems to be only picking off like the dead.
Yeah.
But like, where did those human molars come from? Like,
Maybe
that's
death of natural causes. It's fine. Like,
maybe there was a car crash nearby.
yeah, he didn't necessarily kill someone to get those. Not necessarily.
Well, I don't
Wink.
think that. Yeah, I don't think this creature does
Winks
that
with
at all.
bird eyes.
Yeah, wink, 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 wink.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, no, this is just a really cool read of like a visceral like because there's definitely a visceral element with all like the description of the of like the animal parts. And like again, like the part we didn't like fully read earlier, the quote where it's like so with the no skins part, like this is the description we get. Instead, it had a modeled coat of pink, green, brown, green. Oh, of pink, gray, brown, green, and black. The coat hung like tassels, shredded muscles in varying stages of rot, stringy and clumpy all at once. Muscles hung from yellowed bones, knobs of vertebrae, a radius hanging from the last strings of connective tissues to an ulna ribs. I'm not sure what that means. To an ulna? What is
Must have read
that?
over that.
Oh, actually the radius is also a body part. It's okay, interesting. So the radius and ulnas are actually the forearm of the bones in your forearm. Like the two bones that make up your forearm are actually the radius and the ulnas, or in the ulna. Yeah. But yeah, like just that description, and then like it goes in like the bones were lightly gouged, scraped clean of all flesh. All I saw was the coat as it rose and rose and rose, and then it falls on the deer ribs. But like, yeah, it's just such a cool design. Like again, like can't undersell that enough about this story. Like the design of the creature and the way it acts is so creepy yet horrifically wholesome. Because it's not killing anybody. It's cleaning up. It's
that
a very
we know of.
that we know of. Yeah. Again, we are honestly the most horrific thing we get in the story is actually from the guy from Nair when he's like cutting open mice and putting it on his property on his porch. Like he's clearly snapped in some way. He's clearly broken. But like again, like this is where like the buddy horror element comes in. It's like that's the horror in this one is like these guys are this man and or this person and this creature are becoming kind of like close and buddy, but the person is doing questionable things in the process as a result of like encountering this creature and in his in their pursuit of becoming buddy with this creature. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely love it. Like more buddy horror in the world needs to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, that's my actual thoughts. That's it.
Enough.
So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
All right. So my first quote here. It didn't stink the way old chicken in crab traps did. Slimy and green and so foul you'd vomit in your nose before you could fully describe the rotting chicken scent. Who is catching chicken in crab traps?
Yeah,
it's confusing, man. It's another part where I'm like,
I wonder if that's something that's happened. Like there's somewhere like that's like a localization thing or something. Like that's something that happens. But like I was willing to let it go.
As far as I can tell, just based on like my reading of the story and having all the information, the first time it's brought up, I was very confused as to what smell this is and where he's getting this smell from and how he knows that specific smell's context of what it smells like. I think it's because like the first time it's mentioned, he is referencing the smell that he has smelt before in the future of the story. But he's mentioning it first in the past of the story. Okay. Before we know that the creature smells like that, it's talking about the smell of the creature.
So I just looked up chickens in crab traps. So chicken or fish are often used as bait for crabs in crab traps.
Oh, well, what the fuck do I know? I'll just shut up.
I don't mean to like, yeah, not mean to like to, but yeah, like
looking up to push up your glass and be like, actually.
Well, I wanted to clarify, yeah, like so that's where the smell is coming from. It's actually the crab bait for crab traps.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
But regardless, the first time it's brought up, it's like very random.
Honestly, it might also be like a nice hint as to like where this is actually taking place because it's somewhere where crab traps are very are common.
So here's the other thing too. The first time it's brought up, he says like it didn't smell like chicken in crab traps. It's like great. Yeah. What does it smell like then? You know?
No, it didn't smell like that. It smelled fresh. Like it didn't smell like a corpse. Like it didn't smell like it was rotting. That's I think where the smell what he was trying to get at with the smell. Like it was. it wasn't smelling like foul, rotted smells that like you expected it to. But
Oh yeah, you're right.
yeah. Also, I'm guessing that this is somewhere in like the southern west, the southern eastern states. If this is if they're using that kind of stuff, because I'm seeing in some of the searches I'm looking at, I'm seeing a lot of Cajun stuff. So probably somewhere in that part of the United States is.
I'm pretty sure crab traps are cages. You're right.
No, I'm.
They're caging them. That's how they do them.
I hate you so much.
That's fine. That's fair. I asked for this.
Every week you ask for this.
Yeah.
This is okay. This was payment for me like doing the actually.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. Sorry, Mikey, you go.
Yeah. So I think my issue here is that I envisioned a whole chicken.
Yeah.
In a crab trap that was slimy and green and decomposing.
Yeah.
Which is not what you would have in a crab trap. So if it was actually chicken bait, or if you just specify old chicken meat in crab traps did.
Yeah. Also, I'm not gonna lie. My interpretation of this, like without knowing about crab traps and stuff like the actual like what I just looked up, I was envisioning like crab trap is in like, all right, like probably like the cages that they stuff chickens in when they're transporting them, and like sometimes like I don't know if you guys know how horrific that is for the chickens, but like sometimes chickens die in that, and they just start rotting in among the live chickens. Yeah. So like that's how I was kind of envisioning it. It was just like those like packed chicken cages. Mm-hmm. But obviously that wasn't the case, but similar.
Yeah.
We were all like kind of like almost there, but not quite.
Yeah.
Much.
So my next actual thought here, I have a couple quotes.
Okay.
Candy or plastic, glossy in the way organs tend to be beneath their thin membrane coatings. The glossy candy pink of flesh stretched out over the ribs stood out like spring blooms against the light, bright green of freshly unfurled leaves and young vines. So, for me, I found the use of the word candy to describe the meat of the basically the bait for this creature rather disturbing.
Yeah,
because which makes me think that this Nair might also partake of the candy organs.
I'm not gonna lie. I as soon as you started like going into that, I was like just envisioning Nair just like licking his lips with his tongue as he's like cutting it open. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't put it past Nair, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, that description isn't 100% unwarranted, because I think in reality, like organs do kind of like if I've seen from some of the horrific images I have seen of like cut open animals and stuff like that, they do kind of tend to look like plastic, or like kind of like that kind of like candy coating, like kind of glossiness, like yeah.
Ew.
Yeah,
like
no,
bacon.
it's not great, but like I'm just saying, like that, it's not an inaccurate description, like in reality.
And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Okay. Gamer.
Let's see. My first one is in regards to Nair washing his hands in the kitchen sink. I really sound like I'm in the nitpick nook or something, picking the weirdest things to complain about, but here I am. He says rinses his hands in the kitchen sink, 2 scrubs with the dish soap before and after stripping off my gloves. So when I read that, I'm like, only 2 scrubs? Like, what are you, a video game character? Like, that's a short animation for that context event, you know, of like just washing your hands, just okay, gloves off, there we go, I'm done. You know, it seems odd. That's described as 2 scrubs.
Well, the thing is that there's 2 scrubs, which is what nurses wear that are in the dish soap.
What?
Make sure to keep that pause.
Yeah, I'm not going to shorten that. I'm not going to shorten that pause.
I appreciate you trying, but no. I was going to go there myself, honestly, so I'm glad you did. But yeah, it's just weird. It just says just a couple of scrubs over the gloves, and like, okay, like maybe that's okay if you're just getting the viscera off your gloves and you're throwing them out, but like only a couple of scrubs off your hands as well. Like, why even bother using soap if you're not like actually trying to wash up after it, you know?
I guess, like,
and it does say scrubbed raw right after that.
Yeah.
So maybe he's somehow with his 2 scrubs scrubbing his hands raw. Yeah.
Just being real
using like a freaking using a brass brush with soap on it. Just there we go.
Raw.
There's no skin on that anymore. That's raw. There we go.
Yeah.
Just like my friend.
Yeah.
He's using a magic eraser.
Ah, yes. Only takes 2 scrubs.
Yep.
God damn it.
Yeah. This was like questionably grammar as well, I guess, because it's like the description's kind of weak in my opinion. But yeah,
it's fine. We've had a bunch of actual thoughts in our grammar acquisition. Now we have a bunch of grammar acquisition in our actual thoughts. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And then that part we actually talked about. Now, I've talked about this before in previous creepypastas, but I'm going to bring it up again. I may have stood there for hours, at least long enough for the light to change, in regards to him being stun locked, basically.
Yeah.
And if he's like actually just stun locked for hours, it seems a bit far fetched. I know it's an exaggeration.
I am literally
probably.
rolling my eyes right now.
I know it's probably an exaggeration, or it's possibly because he's in a trance from this creature that we know nothing about. So both of those can just completely explain this away, and I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, when a story says that I may have stood there for hours just staring at it, when we haven't even seen anything creepy at that point, it seems weird.
Sure.
Moving on.
Okay.
And then we get the description of the monster in like extreme detail.
Yeah.
But then it says, all I saw was the coat as it rose and rose and rose and then dropped, snapping branches on its way down with the partial animal corpse. So if all he saw was the coat, then how did he get all the detail, the bones and like the mushed up face and all that? If it specifically says all I saw was the coat. And also it's like up in a tree.
Was the mushed up face in the first encounter or the second encounter?
I don't know, but regardless, he describes more than just the coat. Like he describes it in like pretty good detail, considering it's like up in a tree. Granted, he was staring at it for possibly hours. So
he was.
Maybe that's where the detail came from.
Yeah, it was burned into his retina.
Yeah. And we don't know like how big of a tree it was. I don't know if it's like 100 feet up or if it's just a short little tree that he's hiding in where he's not actually that far away. So I guess that's plausible.
Yeah.
And then here's more of Nair standing around for hours when like the first of the vultures, turkey vultures with their incredible sense of smell, had started to land in the branches. But they avoided the trees nearest the corpse. I watched as the sun came up and more birds filled it, flapping their wings and hopping between the thickest branches. The day got warmer and brighter. Black vultures started filling the gaps. So there is no creepy creature in this scene. He just dropped off the animal corpse, and he is just standing there watching these vultures eat for hours. Isn't he working? Isn't he on the clock? Like, is he supposed to just drop it off and wait?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't actually have anything else to do that for the rest of that trip. So it's just like, I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy nature.
I guess, but it kind of feels like you should just drop it off and leave. Like you're giving them food. Like he's not taking the bones back, you know.
This guy's already kind of weird and like weirdly fascinated with like animal death. So
Okay, that might be fair as well. Yeah.
yeah, like that's what I'm kind of playing off of. Is like this guy is like oddly like since his first encounter with the corpse collector and like the deer ribs in when he was younger in high school and some of that, he has become sort of a weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. We already talked about that. And then my last note is basically just where it says like death would come as it would follow. I eventually built a little structure with spikes and platforms to stick the dead and dying animals on, like a shrine. This is in regards to in front of his house.
Not like a shrine, like a shrike.
Okay, sorry, like a shrine.
Just.
I misread that.
Yeah. Okay.
Either way, so he's doing this like in his house, outside his house.
Yeah.
Where does Nair live? Is he like in the middle of a fucking city and he's just putting dead corpses outside his house?
I'm guessing not. I'm guessing he's somewhere outside of in a rural setting.
Unless this is all set in Mad Max or something, and then this is fine.
I mean, to your credit, it never says where he lives, which might be nice. Might be like a nice little addition, like he's like on the outskirts of a town or something like that, so he doesn't get a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise this is very concerning. If he's doing this in like, I live in the downtown core, it's like the little port. I'm guessing because he has a portion of that, he's not in a city. He's like somewhere near a forest or something like that, like somewhere out near some wilderness.
Yeah, probably. I couldn't
otherwise,
get
he's that guy. Like
yeah, he's
like,
definitely that guy.
He's that guy that the parents warn the kids not go to the other side of the street when you walk past that property. You know, the property with the animal hides and like the dead animals.
Yeah.
But
like because of how the whole intro was for me, being confused of like where this guy lives, like if he's in a house, if he's in an alleyway, inside, I could like when it immediately went back to him putting stuff outside his house, I immediately went back to he's just in an apartment in town. Like so that confused me.
It does say that he has a wooden porch that creaks, so like that should help like flavor his domicile a little bit.
So here's an overarching thing in regards to my brain not understanding the information put to me here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of clues said that if you, by the end of the story, you could put them all together and build the visual of this guy's house and how he has things set up. But you have to read the whole story to get there.
Oh no! Like
no, but like it's such the fact that this guy lives in like out in the middle of nowhere with a creaky front porch, that isn't something that needs to be left to the end of the story as a twist. That's not a twist that he lives out in the middle of nowhere. That should be something that's easily told to us so we can have it described from the get-go. Because until you said that right now, that he has a creaky front porch, it's like, okay, that's pretty good proof that he's living in a crappy old like cabin or something out in the woods. It took that long to get there.
Yeah. I don't know. Like like this is again subjective because like I have no problem with the way it is, but like you do, I understand. Like we both have very different ways of like reading stories and stuff like that and appreciating stories. So, like I get it, but yeah, this is it's like sometimes you could like it's nice to have like everything told up front, but sometimes it's nice to just have that part of the journey of the story.
I guess. Yeah. But it's all told so subtly that you had to fucking tell me because I couldn't get there by myself.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I am by no means a smart man.
I'm not saying that. I'm on the record. I'm not saying that.
I'm saying that.
I think you're doing yourself a discredit as well. I think it's just like you perceive things a little bit differently than I do in terms of like you process things a little bit differently than I do.
Like, because of the way that I started reading this, which was I'm on the starting line, ready to go. I start sprinting immediately, but there's like a curb right in front of me, and I fall on my face, and I didn't know it was there. And then for the rest of the sprint down the track, I am wobbly and disoriented. And then when I get to the end, they tell me what happened. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
That's basically my reading of this story, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's the end of my notes.
Okay. Well, I hope I'm not sounding like insulting at all. In when I've been talking about like that kind of stuff.
What?
Oh, I haven't been like sounding like insulting at all when I like say, well, we just have different opinion. Like we see things differently. Like I hope that's not like coming across like that at all.
Hell no. Hell no. I've been on here for how many hundreds of episodes? I get it. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. We have different different brain processes.
Yeah, and because we have different brain processes, it's actually really good for our discussion podcast here, because like if you resonate with different ones of us, then that's how you might like the story. Hence why we all have different recommendations. Because if your brain works like Cultist, you might like this certain way. If it works like Mikey's, you might like it like a different way, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if we were all the same person, we would all say the same thing all the time, and it'd be boring.
And then why then it's no longer a discussion. Yeah.
No.
For better or worse, we have different opinions on how we view the world and how we view stories. So
yes, for sure.
But yeah, so getting back to the episode, to final thoughts. Yeah, I'm still going to recommend the story. I really enjoyed the buddy horror aspect that like kind of the story kind of like gave us this journey of like how this guy like met this monster and how he's like slowly became influenced by it over years. It is short, but it's short and sweet, in my opinion. Like in more ways than one. Like it has kind of a wholesome horror element to it. With this like it's like Boy Meets Monster. But it's like it's short, but it doesn't overstep itself, or it gives us enough for the story, I feel. So yeah, I was left with the story like feeling it was very cool and creepy viscerally. So I'm gonna recommend the story still. Mikey, the stands for evil.
Right. Well, the description of the meat was disturbing. The description of the creature was disturbing. And the Nair seems to be a bit disturbed. So this is prime for being a creepypasta.
Yeah.
It checks the it checks the creepy.
That it do.
So I'm still going to give this recommendation.
Okay. And Gamer.
So for me, as I've described multiple times, with the confusing opening and the descriptions for me, it was a bit of a struggle for me to get into. And yeah, like I've already said it multiple times, but all that being said, when you have all the context, I mean, hell, even without the full context of where the guy lives, it doesn't fucking matter. His house isn't the important like part of the story. The important part of the story is the corpse collector, and everything revolving around the corpse collector is fantastic. Great. So in that aspect, I do recommend this. It's just that the whole like some of the descriptors could use a little work, a little tweak in my opinion, just for my brain, the way my brain works. And because of that, I'm going to say partial. But I still do recommend it, but it needs a little work, which is the definition of a partial in my opinion.
Fair.
Would you say that it needs to be more fleshed out?
Baha!
So then I guess two full recommendations and then one partial recommendation. Again, depending on your viewpoint and such of the story. But I think that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter, kind of.
Don't lie to them anymore.
Mikey's at the
Some of us are on Twitter.
Some of us are on Twitter more than others.
Yeah.
Mikey's at the East Ends for Evil. The Gamer Yells at the Gamer Yell without that W at the end because his name's too damn long.
Yeah. I kind of wish they would give me like 1 million characters so I could type that in specifically as my name now. As the Gamer in Yellow, but without the W because my name is too long. Like that would be my full title.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Like I wouldn't just put the W and be done with it. No, I would just go with the whole bit.
Yeah. And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also on Blue Sky, so you can send me messages there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah!
And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers with special episodes, early access, extra content. To all our patrons, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these stories that you write and post online for people to get spooked at or enjoy, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So thank you. And also, you're doing a service by giving us more wholesomely horrific buddy horror. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East Ends Real.
The Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.
I feel like I should change my recommendation to full recommendation based solely on the fact that this is a buddy horror.
That is true.
I would. You know what? Yeah.
I'll put this in the outro.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.